De verdad, ¿por qué se mueve tan lenta esta plataforma? Quiero llegar ya al otro lado para poder seguir haciendo puzzles. Oye, un momento. Esto de aquí, a ver. Voy a volver hacia atrás un momento. Este juego me va a volver loco. Justo al terminar los puzzles introductorios de The Witness, no, tú todavía no. Entramos a un pueblo en el que parece habitar gente transformada en piedra. No somos conscientes de ello, pero el juego acaba de plantar la semilla del misterio en nosotros. En cada nueva área encontramos más de estas personas y, además, un extraño símbolo cerca de sofás y tumbonas. ¿Acaso hay alguien de vacaciones en la isla? Ahora, además de resolver los puzzles, tenemos que intentar formar una narrativa sobre qué ha pasado o está pasando en la isla. Pero el juego te lo pone cada vez más difícil. Encontramos notas de audio esparcidas por aquí y allá, pero ninguna sirve para ayudarnos a comprender qué está pasando aquí.
You go around every hour and a half, time after time after time. You wake up usually in the mornings, and just the way that the track of your orbits go.
O puede que lo esté haciendo sin que nos demos cuenta. El principal responsable de The Witness, Jonathan Blow, ya creó un videojuego que revolucionó la escena indie, siendo uno de los precursores del boom que vimos a finales de la década pasada, con obras como Limbo o Journey. En esta entrevista en Eurogamer, el diseñador explica uno de los puntos que más le molestaron a la hora de ver cómo la comunidad reaccionó a Braid.
In the Braid time, the thing that I was frustrated about, it wasn't like, you know, random gamers commenting on the game or anything, right? It was like people who were on the internet saying, "I'm the smart person who can tell you what this game means, and here is what it means." And I was like, "That's not really, you know, it's not really. You're missing a lot of stuff there." But it's making me mad because you're telling other people what this thing is. And part of the reason I was a little bit, I mean, it was my first big game in a long time, so there's that. But also, it was very, Braid was kind of trying to be an example of like, hey, look, you can make a game that's not ashamed of being art. And I was just hoping that that part came across clearly. And I was just worried that all these people saying weird things about the game would ruin the game and people wouldn't see that. Like a lot of people were talking about the story and stuff as though that was the main part of the game, but there's all this other stuff in the game that's actually more important. But in reality, I didn't need to worry. Like, that didn't really happen. Like, a lot of these things people were saying were topical for like a week. You know how the internet is, like people say stuff and then it changes to some other discussion. And that's basically what happened with that game as well.
¿Y qué hace Jonathan Blow con The Witness? Un juego tan complejo que cualquier persona que intente comprenderlo en su totalidad debería manejar la epistemología, la física y la teología de una manera tan fluida que sería prácticamente imposible dar una visión holística del juego.
You know, like a game like The Witness is really, even Braid was pretty complicated, but The Witness is like really complicated. There's a lot of stuff in it. And so, you know, artistic decisions like that happen at many levels. Some of them are very obvious and people can see them. Some of them are very subtle and almost nobody you would expect to notice that a decision was made there, you know. And there's a whole, between that, there's a whole spectrum of sizes of decision. And so I just expect any individual person who comes to the game will see some of those things and they won't see others of them. Almost nobody is going to see everything. I don't even know how that's possible because we talk about so many things when we make a game. So I just, you know, everybody's going to have their own view of it, and that's just how it is, and that's okay. And so, with something as complicated as The Witness, it would be weird to expect people to understand it all the way. And so, especially because it's subtle about some things. You know, it's not really an obvious story. Like, the ideas are tucked away in the background. And so when you do that, like, you know that people are going to have the experience that they have, and you have to be okay, right?
Of all the communities available to us, there's not one I would want to devote myself to, except for the Society of True Searchers, which has very few living members at any time. Albert Einstein, 1924.
Nosotros formamos parte de esta comunidad de investigadores porque queremos saber qué hay detrás de estos puzzles. Necesitamos desentrañar los misterios de la isla para poder dar una narrativa a lo que estamos haciendo. Este ha sido el enfoque tradicional de la ciencia, el positivismo. Existe una realidad objetiva que nosotros, a través del método científico, podemos llegar a comprender. La isla debe tener algún significado y, a través de la lógica y la razón, podremos llegar a esta verdad. Los puzzles que estamos haciendo, las personas convertidas en piedra, los láseres que apuntan a la montaña. Todo esto tiene que formar parte de esa narrativa que nosotros, a través del método científico, vamos a resolver. Llegamos a la cima de la montaña, donde parece que vamos a encontrar todas las respuestas. Pero una vez más no encontramos nada. Aunque hay algo raro aquí. Este puzzle que no hace nada se parece al río que hay abajo. Oh, Dios mío. Este es el momento de la revelación. Este es el puzzle más importante de The Witness porque recontextualiza todo lo que hemos visto hasta ahora. ¿Habremos dejado más puzzles como este atrás? ¿Qué utilidad tienen? Todas estas preguntas se nos vienen a la mente en cuanto hacemos el primer puzzle de paisaje que vemos. Pero lo realmente interesante de este tipo de puzzles es que no estamos usando la lógica para resolverlo, sino más bien el contexto. Debemos mirar a nuestro alrededor de una forma en la que la tradición científica no nos permite, ya que ahora no nos encontramos con una realidad objetiva e inmutable, sino que depende del observador y su punto de vista.
The physicist Wolfgang Pauli once spoke of two limiting conceptions, both of which have been extraordinarily fruitful in the history of human thought, although no genuine reality corresponds to them. At one extreme is the idea of an objective world, pursuing its regular course in space and time independently of any kind of observing subject. This has been the guiding image of modern science. At the other extreme is the idea of a subject, mystically experiencing the unity of the world and no longer confronted by an object or by any objective world. This has been the guiding image of Asian mysticism. Our thinking moves somewhere in the middle, between these two limiting conceptions. We should maintain the tension resulting from these two opposites. Werner Heisenberg, 1974.
Debemos fluir con el entorno para poder ver todos y cada uno de ellos. Buscar estos puzzles de manera consciente puede llevar a frustración. Incluso nos puede llevar a un estado de paranoia donde los empezamos a ver en cualquier rincón de la isla. Tenemos que verlos de la misma forma que alguien que ha alcanzado la iluminación lo haría. El gran tal como el río que fluye en todas direcciones. Todos los seres le deben la existencia y él a ninguno se la niega. Cuando realiza su obra, no se la apropia. Cuida y alimenta a todos los seres sin adueñarse de ellos. Carece de ambiciones, por eso puede ser llamado pequeño. Todos los seres retornan a él sin que los reclame, y por eso puede ser llamado grande. De la misma forma, el sabio nunca se considera grande y así perpetúa su grandeza.
And it's simply stop looking for what you want. Not cynically stop looking for what you want, because there's a way of stopping looking for what you want in resignation and cynicism and closing down. But innocently, openly, stop looking for what you want in this moment, not tomorrow when you have it, but in this moment, to take one moment, whatever it is you want, however mundane or profound, and just stop looking for it. And you will find more than what you could ever want. Because more than what can be wanted is already who you are. It's too simple to be grasped, but absolutely, completely realizable. But if you're willing to investigate for yourself without believing it, or learning it, or hoping to get something from it, just a pure investigation out of the natural curiosity of the human mind, just to investigate for yourself what is here when I stop trying to get anything, and how much of that is here, and where does that begin, and where does that end? And then the question, am I willing to trust that? Then the challenges get very big, but we'll get to that later. You already are everything you want, only maybe not in the way you imagine what you want. And it's that imagination itself that keeps you from discovering that you already are everything you want. So if you just take this evening as an experiment to give up any imagination, any image of what you need to be totally fulfilled, just give it up. It's just an image, just a thought. Maybe a spiritual thought, maybe a worldly thought, a relationship thought, a career thought. Just give it up. And directly discover what's here, unthought, unimagined. How's that? Good. Good.
Deja de buscar la narrativa en el juego. No la necesitas.
At best, the products of human emotion, art, philosophy, politics, music, literature, are interpretations of the world that tell you more about the guy who's talking than about the
¿Y
world
qué
he's
tiene que
talking
decir la
about.
ciencia sobre esto?
Second-hand views of the world, made third-hand by your interpretation of them. Things like that, as opposed to this. Know what it is? It's a bunch of amino acids. The stuff that goes to build up a worm, or a geranium, or you. This stuff's easier to take, isn't it? Understandable. Got people in it. This, scientific knowledge, is hard to take because it removes the reassuring crutches of opinion, ideology, and leaves only what is demonstrably true about the world.
Por una parte tenemos al tecnócrata, al positivista, que tiene tanta fe en la ciencia que la ve capaz de responder a todas y cada una de las preguntas que podamos hacer. En el otro extremo tenemos la visión de Feynman.
So I wish to illustrate by this example that an understanding of the physical laws doesn't give you an understanding in a sense of understanding significance of the world in any way. The details of real experience are very far often from the fundamental laws. I think that the right way, of course, is to say that the whole structural interconnections of the thing is the thing that we have to look at, and that the sequence of hierarchy, that all the sciences and all the efforts, not just the sciences, but all the efforts of intellectual kind, are to see the connections of the hierarchies as to connect beauty to history, is to connect history to man's psychology, the man's psychology to the working of the brain to the neural impulse to the chemistry, and so forth, up and down, both ways. And today we cannot, and there's no use making believe we can, draw carefully a line all the way from one end of this thing to the other. In fact, we've just begun to see that there is this relative hierarchy. And so I don't think either end is nearer to God's. And to stand at either end and to walk out off the end of the pier only, hoping out in that direction is the complete understanding, is a mistake.
Con toda la humildad que le caracteriza, e incluso siendo una de las personas que más ha aportado a la física en la historia, es capaz de ver las limitaciones de la ciencia y la necesidad de un conocimiento holístico, ya no para entender la realidad, sino para empezar a entenderla.
People say to me, are you looking for the ultimate laws of physics? No, I'm not. I'm just looking to find out more about the world. And if it turns out there is a simple ultimate law that explains everything, so be it. That would be very nice to discover. If it turns out it's like an onion with millions of layers and we're just sick and tired of looking at the layers, then that's the way it is. But whatever way it comes out, its nature is there and she's going to come out the way she is. And therefore, when we go to investigate it, we shouldn't pre-decide what it is we're trying to do except to find out more about it. If you say, but your problem is, why do you find out more about it? If you thought that you were trying to find out more about it because you're going to get an answer to some deep philosophical question, you may be wrong. It may be that you can't get an answer to that particular question by finding out more about the character of nature. But I don't look at it. My interest in science is to simply find out about the world. And the more I find out, the better it is. I like to find out.
If we were not able or did not desire to look in any new direction, if we did not have a doubt or recognize ignorance, we would not get any new ideas. There would be nothing worth checking because we would know what is true. So what we call scientific knowledge today is a body of statements of varying degrees of certainty. Some of them are most unsure, some of them are nearly sure, but none is absolutely certain. Scientists are used to this. We know that it is consistent to be able to live and not know.
Este es el misterio que nos mueve a entender el juego, e intentarlo solo nos hace darnos cuenta de nuestros propios límites e ignorancia.
I always live without knowing. That is easy. How you get to know is what I want to know. This freedom to doubt is an important matter in the sciences, and I believe in other fields. It was born of a struggle. It was a struggle to be permitted to doubt, to be unsure. And I do not want us to forget the importance of the struggle, and by default, to let the thing fall away. I feel a responsibility as a scientist who knows the great value of a satisfactory philosophy of ignorance, and the progress made possible by such a philosophy. Progress which is the fruit of freedom of thought. I feel a responsibility to proclaim the value of this freedom and to teach that doubt is not to be feared, but that it is to be welcomed as the possibility of a new potential for human beings. If you know that you are not sure, you have a chance to improve the situation. I want to demand this freedom for future generations.
Quien conoce el Tao no habla de él, y quien habla de él no conoce el Tao.
A poet once said, "The whole universe is in a glass of wine." We will probably never know in what sense he meant that, for poets do not write to be understood. But it is true that if we look at a glass of wine closely enough, we see the entire universe.
Podemos entender las leyes del universo de forma individual, así como también podemos resolver los puzzles si conocemos cada una de las mecánicas que la isla nos presenta. Pero esto no te va a permitir entender por qué están ahí.
The glass is a distillation of the Earth's rocks, and in its composition we see the secrets of the universe's age and the evolution of stars. What strange array of chemicals are in the wine? How did they come to be? There are the ferments, the enzymes, the substrates, and the products. There in wine is found the great generalization. All life is fermentation. Nobody can discover the chemistry of wine without discovering, as did Louis Pasteur, the cause of much disease. How vivid is the claret, pressing its existence into the consciousness that watches it. If our small minds, for some convenience, divide this glass of wine, this universe, into parts, physics, biology, geology, astronomy, psychology, and so on, remember that nature does not know it. So let us put it all back together, not forgetting ultimately what it is for. Let it give us one more final pleasure. Drink it and forget it all. Richard Feynman, 1963. What is divine in man is elusive and impalpable, and he is easily tempted to embody it in a concrete form, a church.
The Witness es un juego que busca la iluminación del jugador, la búsqueda de la verdad, y para encontrarla no podemos usar solo la lógica o el misticismo, sino que necesitamos de ambas. Apoyarse en guías para llegar al final del juego, esperando que se nos desvelen todos los misterios, nos aleja de este camino. El sendero de la verdad es algo que necesitamos recorrer de forma individual.
Those who seek for it alone will reach it together, and those who seek it in company will perish by themselves. Hugh Kingsmill, 1944.
Incluso después de llegar al corazón de la montaña, al haber activado el número necesario de láseres y creer que por fin nos van a dar una respuesta, el juego nos devuelve al principio, porque no hemos aprendido nada. Nos hemos reencarnado en un nuevo ciclo, con la esperanza de alcanzar la iluminación esta vez.
And a dream.
Pero ahora que conocemos mejor nuestro contexto, podemos hacer esto. Sin salir de la puerta se conoce el mundo. Sin mirar por la ventana se ve el camino del cielo. Cuanto más lejos se va, menos se aprende. Así, el sabio no da un paso y llega. No mira y conoce, no actúa y cumple. Si hemos estado prestando atención a lo que nos ha ido diciendo el juego, sabremos que no vamos a encontrar una respuesta detrás de esta puerta. Pero parece que ya casi lo tenemos. La verdad está ahí delante. Casi la podemos tocar. Un poco más y ya casi. Como en una película de David Lynch, todo lo que hemos vivido no era más que una simulación. Y cuando despertamos, vemos la respuesta a todas las preguntas con claridad. Un desarrollador tan obsesionado con llegar al conocimiento verdadero ha intentado crear un videojuego con el objetivo de la iluminación. Tal era su fijación que decidió probar por sí mismo esta realidad simulada, pero su obsesión no solo sigue existiendo, sino que se ha acentuado. Ahora ve estos puzzles en todos los rincones de su casa. No es capaz de fluir con su entorno. Se acaba de dar cuenta de que todavía no ha alcanzado la verdad. Tenemos que volver a intentarlo. ¿Qué? O sea, ¿qué quieres, Jonathan Blow? Llevo una semana delante de este puzzle y no sé qué tengo que hacer. Hay un pájaro y... ¿Qué hago con el pájaro? Es que no lo sé, no sé qué quieres de mí, Jonathan Blow. Es que no sé, llevo una semana aquí y no. Es que no quiero seguir con esto. Es que ahora mismo baja Buda, ¿eh? El puto Buda baja Siddhartha. Y es que no puede con esto, le matan la paciencia, tiene que mirarte una guía porque es que no puede. Es que yo no quiero alcanzar la iluminación, yo quiero que... No quiero. Es que de verdad... De verdad... Es que... Uy. Vale, por Dios. Increíble. Ay, se me cae esto. Se está haciendo de noche. No se ve una mierda. Es que de verdad. Ay. A ver, esto. Es que así no se puede. Oye, ahí, esto, si enciendo la luz,